Hey guys, it's Lana and welcome back for another episode of Seeing Other People. You guys, I am so excited today. We have Carly Weinstein here right now. Carly, I have been looking forward to having you on for so long.
Oh my God.
I just feel like you're one of the most authentic people out there who does what you do and in the sense of putting yourself out there.
Oh, thank you. I've been following you for a while. I've always known about your podcast, so I'm hype. And I feel like we have similar fan base, kind of. We have similar audiences.
I feel like there are so many times where I'll record with people and they're like, oh my God, Alana, I feel like I know you. And that's how I feel about you, where I feel like I know you, but I don't know if it's from your content or just because I feel like we're the same.
No, it's probably both, honestly. And we have mutuals and I feel like we are similar. Yeah, for sure.
There's going to be a lot of oh, me too's in this conversation.
100%.
Okay, Carly, let's set the stage. What is going on in your dating life right now?
Oh my God, it's such a shit show.
I'm so excited to hear about it.
No, you don't need
selfishly, I'm so glad.
I'm the best person to have on this because it's every day. It's a new shit show. But I've honestly been on Hinge and it's been so dry.
That's what I'm hearing from everyone.
And I say this all the time, but there have really been times where I've been on Hinge or I've been on Locks Club and it's been pretty good. There's a good selection and I've gone on some dates. Right now, there is nobody. And if they're liking me, then they're not starting the conversation or saying anything.
I wish I had this picture to pull up for you, but one of my friends literally got matched with somebody whose pictures were elephants. Actual elephants.
No.
That's who Hinge was giving her.
Or someone will they'll select a prompt and instead of answering it, they'll just write period.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Are you kidding? Tell me you're not interested in, just say you're not interested then.
I need to know the stats of if those people have ever gone on dates from
That's what I want to know.
Are there people who are actually okay with that?
And do they think they're that attractive that they can do that?
Right. And here's the thing. They never are.
No.
They never are. Not that it would make it better, but
never. Yeah. So that's been my struggle with Hinge. I've had a sneaky link for a while. I literally just refer to him as my sneaky link.
How did that start?
I've known him for a long time. I grew up with him and he recently got out of a relationship and we just reconnected as kind of friends. But then I had always wanted to have sex with him. So I was okay, this is a good opportunity.
So you did.
So I did. And then we just our friend groups kind of meshed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We all just started hanging out all the time. And he just became literally my sneaky link. Every weekend he was who I was hanging out with. But I knew I would never have a future with him. So it was almost stunting me from meeting other people.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I want to get into that. Before we do, first of all, you have the prettiest eyes I've ever seen in my entire life.
Thank you.
Ever. Everybody needs to find a picture of Carly and zoom in on her eyes right now. Were you ever afraid that this would get messy?
Well, it already was messy because I'm kind of friendly with his ex-girlfriend.
Got it.
We all went to school together.
Got it.
We all grew up together. So it already was messy, but I was trying to keep it low key.
Yeah.
And then, but with us and with our friendship, I never was worried that it got messy because I didn't have feelings involved and he was emotionally unavailable. He just got out of a relationship. So I was this is harmless. If this girl thinks, if the ex thinks, I'm don't worry. Don't fucking worry.
Did you talk about it?
What?
When you started hooking up, did you talk about we're both on the same page of this isn't going to go anywhere. So let's embrace it for what it is.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was never a discussion, but we would talk about his ex and we would talk about our mutual friends. And we were always very open because we're close. You know, when you know someone from middle school, you just have a different type of bond.
Right.
So we always were just very open with what was going on. And I was just giving off vibes that I would talk to him about other guys.
Okay.
I was giving him very much he knew what he was getting himself into.
Yeah.
So
that's good that you're kind of really making it clear.
Yeah. I kind of had to because I was he's my age. I like to date guys that are older. He's not Jewish. I typically, if I had the choice, I would go for a Jewish guy typically just because family, it's just same values. I don't know.
There with you.
It's easier. Yeah. But yeah, we just... Right now, it's just casual, and I honestly haven't seen him in a while. So now I'm trying to get back on Hinge and get back out there, and it's really hard.
I want to bring up what you said, though, real quick, about for a while, when you're in something, in a way, it's a situationship.
Yeah, for sure.
Sneaky link, friends benefit, situationship, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Did you feel actively you knew this was holding you back from something?
Not in the beginning, but during it, like as time was going on, I would like go out with him to bars and I would find myself just talking to him and hanging out with him and not interacting with other people. And then I was like, okay, I need, in my head before we would go out, to be like, okay, on Friday night, I'll go out with him, but Saturday night I can't because I need an opportunity to meet other boys.
Yeah.
So I would just like try to limit the amount of time that I would spend with him. And it naturally would happen anyways because we're both busy people and have other friends and whatever. But yeah, I tried to keep it so it wasn't holding me back, but it always is in a sense.
Yeah. And it's tough because on one hand, it's secure and it's comfortable and it's easy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, well, if this isn't going to make me happy in the long run, eventually I need to like cut the cord and see what else I can find and explore what else is out there. But that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
As you know.
And you never know when you could find like your person. So I guess like the negative side to it is like, whenever I was with him, I could have been. But at the same time.
But could you have been?
I know, exactly. And I'm like, I'm so bored when I go out most of the time. It's been so nice to like have someone to just like be with. Yeah. Like go with to somewhere and leave somewhere with. Yeah. So it's been nice, but
instead of that curiosity of like, okay, like how will I end the night or
just leaving and giving up
and giving up. Well, I had a conversation with somebody about this a few weeks ago where like in college, if we didn't like end the night, at least like making out with somebody, that we would have considered the night a failure,
a bad night,
which like, that's batshit crazy that's how we view it. But that also carried through to most of my like single years in my 20s, where if I were to go like get dressed up, like go out pregame, go out and not meet somebody, then I would have kind of internalized that as like, well, something's wrong with me. Like there were all these people there and none of them wanted me.
Exactly. That's how I feel constantly. And I feel like it's better, even if I just flirt with someone, get someone's number, like give me something so I can take it away from the night and be like, it wasn't for no reason. Right. Because I always say I can hang out with my friends whenever I want. Right. I can go to dinner with them. I don't need to go get drunk and go out to a club or go out to a bar. I do that because I want to meet a guy. Right. And people are not everyone's going to agree with that, but that's why I go out.
Well, I like that. I actually love that you're saying that, because I think so many times people try and cover it up and be like, no, like I want to have fun with my friends. And it's like, yes, but, or yes, and
I'm the type of person, like, once I get a boyfriend, I'm not going to be going out nearly as much. Yeah. I just don't love, like, I don't love going out, like, all the time. I'm a homebody. Yeah. And so if I had the choice, I prefer to just hang with my friends where we can talk and hear each other and just hang out.
Have you been in a relationship post-grad?
So my last relationship was high school and college. Got it. So, and it was just one relationship, like long relationship. So we broke up and like I became really single like my junior year of college, but like sophomore year too, we were just on and off. But post grad, like literally since I've gotten to the city, I've been single. And I've gone through phases.
What was it like becoming single junior year of college?
So technically I became single sophomore year of college. Okay. He transferred schools. He was at my school. He transferred to a different school. Got it. And I just became a whore. Yeah.
That's like not to ask a leading question, but like.
No, my sophomore year, but honestly, like I loved sophomore year so much. Like I peaked. Like I went to PV and I literally, this is so cringe, but I literally, if anyone doesn't know, we like go to Mexico. It's like a Big 10 school thing, like everyone goes, and I literally had sex with like 7 people in a week. I'm not even kidding. Like 7 people in 7 days. Yeah. And it's really fucked up, but I never felt like that again. I got it out of my system, and it's not for everyone, but I think my sophomore year was that time where I was like, there's certain things I need to get out of my system. I needed to experience that wild, crazy side.
Yeah, which probably was like pent up inside of you for like seeing everyone else that you're meeting in college go through it, and just like, nope, like I have my boyfriend.
And he was my first everything. Yeah. So it was like I had never experienced being with other people before. And so instead of like easing into it, I just went kind of a little crazy. Yeah.
But I kind of did the same. Maybe not to Carly and PV extent. But
never again. Guys, don't do what I did.
I was in my like first serious relationship was like 1.5 years in high school. And it was like we thought we were going to marry each other. Yeah. He was a year younger than me. So when I was graduating and going to college, he was going to be a senior. I wanted to stay together. And he was like, absolutely not. Like I would not be able to wake up every day knowing you're like 4 hours away in Syracuse doing God knows what with God knows who. Like I can't do that. And so he broke up with me. I was so devastated. I get to college. I was like, I didn't want to go. And like we broke up like the day before I went to school, and I did not want to go.
This is how my sister was too.
And I get there and it was just like a whole new world. Yeah. And like within the first weekend, I made out with like 3 guys.
Of course.
And me and him were still talking. Like he was like my best friend. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I thought he was going to be proud of me.
No, in the back of your mind, you're probably just trying to make him jealous too.
Yeah, I was trying to make I was like, well, this is what you wanted. Yeah. And he like didn't speak to me for like months after that. He was like, what the fuck, Alana? It was a huge fight. Obviously, I understand I shouldn't have done that, but I genuinely thought that is what he wanted me to do. Mm-hmm. Like go to Syracuse and make out with a bunch of boys.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what you do, especially again, at a Big Ten school. Yeah. It's like, there's a bunch of hot guys, you're partying 24/7 and you put a bunch of hot people in a room together. What's going to happen? Like, and your friends are doing the same thing too. Yeah. But I think it's part of the experience.
I completely agree. Yeah. Okay. So do you like miss being in a relationship? Like, are you actively now trying to date to find somebody? Not, I don't want to say date to marry, unless that is like something you believe in strongly, but like, are you actively trying to find someone now?
I actually do believe in date to marry.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
I've always believed in that. Like my first boyfriend, even I was like, I would never date someone or start dating someone unless I actually believed there was a future with them, because then what's the point?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I have a lot going on in my life. I've always felt this way. And I'm not going to waste my time spending so many years or so much time with a person that is not going to be in my future. Like I'm only going to invest time in you if I can actually see a future with you.
How do you level set that though for yourself with like, I know people will hear that and think, well, how am I supposed to decide after like the third date if I want to marry this person? Like that's too much to commit so soon. Because I hear that all the time from a lot of guys, I'll say, where like they really like someone, they're like, but I don't know if I want to marry her yet. So like I'm not going to ask her to be my girlfriend because that's what she's going to assume that means. And it's like, everybody needs to take a step back.
Yes, 100%. You might not know. See, I'm not saying that I go into a date and I know for a fact like, oh, I'm definitely marrying them or I'm definitely not. But I can more often than not tell if it's not gonna work. Like I'll see things and just logically I know whether it's gonna work or not, or if there's just not, the chemistry is not there, I know it's not gonna work. And I'll give things. Like I was watching Jewish matchmaking and she was like, when in doubt, just go on another date.
I really liked that a lot. Like if it's not a no, it's a we'll see, continue.
So I used to not believe in that because I was like, oh, I'm unsure. I guess like I just shouldn't go.
If it's not a fuck yes, I'm not gonna go.
But now I'm like, I believe that because honestly, I went on a date with this guy last year and I ended up going on another date with him this year just because I was like, I'm still thinking about him. Yeah. And I went on a second date and I had so much clarity after. I was like, okay, I know this isn't right actually.
Okay.
So it's like, now I'm like, okay, I agree. Sometimes you need to just see it through and there's no loss to just seeing it through.
I completely agree. And I think, you know, people ask so often, like, how do I find closure about any situation? It's like, nothing that someone else says is going to give you closure. Yeah. Because you don't know, like they could be completely bullshitting. Mm-hmm. Anything they say is going to make you come up with another question that you want to ask, you want the answer to. The only thing that can give you closure is like yourself and giving yourself the ability to fully explore something.
100%. Like when my friends, I mean, obviously in a small, like when you're going on a couple dates, you don't need that closure. But when you're in like a long relationship, my friends will be like looking for closure or like looking for that guy to still text them again after it ends. And I'm like, this is not going to make you feel better. Like it never will. Cause it's like, you just have to be at peace with yourself and learn to live with yourself and move on. Yeah. Because it's never gonna fix.
Yeah. And I've, I've been there where I've like, it's just like, blue. Like me just asking, trying to grasp onto anything I can.
Because you want to make reason of something that there's not always reason for. And that's okay. Yeah. Sometimes you're just not meant to be with the person. And a lot of the time, guys are fucking dumb. And guys don't know how to rationalize things, or they'll feel a certain way, but they don't know how to express why they feel that way to a girl. Yeah. So they'll just break up and whatever. And the girl's sitting there waiting for this long explanation because girls are very intuitive. We can pinpoint kind of exactly why we feel how we feel. And for the guy, they don't know. Yeah. So it's hard. You kind of just have to be okay with the fact that he might not even know why he feels that way. He just does. And you got to be good with it.
And you know what? Sometimes we don't know either. Yeah. And here's the thing, like we've all gone on dates with people where like they're great people. There's nothing wrong with them. Yes. We just like don't feel it for one reason or another, doesn't mean they're ugly, doesn't mean they're like not worthy of love
100%.
or doesn't mean that like they're not good enough. But then the second it's switched and we go on a date with someone and we think it went well and they just say like, I don't feel a connection. It's not what I'm looking for. Or, I don't want to see you again. We're like, oh, well, I'm not worthy of love and I'm not good enough and I'm not deserving. And what's wrong with me?
It's such a double standard. It truly is. Cause like, I get the same way. It's like, even a guy that I'm not that interested in, I want them to be obsessed with me. Right. Either way. Why? For what? Why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think we just want that validation so badly, but like, we're not gonna get it in the way that we need until we can like give it to ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. My guy friend is going through a breakup right now and he keeps trying to shift to another girl because like his ex has like moved on and is kind of like still leading him on a little bit. And I'm like, shifting to another girl is going to distract you, but you got to be okay being alone or you're never going to be able to move on. Like I think distraction is a huge part of going through a breakup. You need to distract yourself with friends, distract yourself with a sneaky link. Like who cares? But he's so desperate to find like another connection. And it's like, you got to figure out what's going on internally with yourself first before you start seeking out another connection. Yeah. Cause it's like a Band-Aid. It's not going to fix what's going on inside.
I feel like you're someone who has done a lot of that like inner work to figure out like who you are and what you value. And I think that comes through a lot in your content with like just exuding confidence, but like knowing like, okay, I wasn't always this way. So I know how it feels to not feel this way. Yeah. How did you get here? Like, how did you become this person who like knows exactly who they are and what they want and like feels good about themselves? Cause that's really, really hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think partially I was like always this way because I remember being in high school and like I knew I like started a blog and everyone was like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I'm just like going to be influencer wasn't even a word yet. But I was like, I'm going to be a blogger one day. Yeah. And people were like, what the hell? And I just kind of was like, I knew I had just an inner knowing that I would be successful. So I think that's part of it. And then the other part of it is like, I don't know. I feel like the self-work and every time I would accomplish something, it would give me more reason to keep going. So it's like, and also I think it has to do with how you're raised too, because my mom was raised by parents who always said, you can't, you can't, you can't. And I was raised by parents who always said, no matter how crazy your dream is, you can. And I think I'm just lucky in that way that I'm not going to take full credit for my character. I'm like, my parents raised me being like, if you want to go to the moon, fucking go to the moon. Like, so I think that's a lot of what made me into who I am.
I love that so much. And I think I'm the same way with how I was raised. Like, I mean, my entire fucking wall, ceiling, everything, my bedding was Jonas Brothers. Yeah. And the fact that my parents even let me, like, I didn't think they were going to let me put a poster on my wall. And they were like, if you want to tarp your walls, canvas them in posters, like, sure, go for it. And then like fast forward and I interviewed them. Like, I feel like there is so much truth to that. And it's interesting. Like we always talk about how like our attachment styles and stuff and how the way we were raised maybe impacts us in a negative way. But like we rarely hear people talking about like how the way they were raised impacts them in a positive way. And I think that's so true. And I know like for me, I've looked to my parents' relationship, like they've been together for over 30 years and it's so beautiful and wonderful to see. And I feel really grateful that I have that, but I know not everyone is that way.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. My parents have been together almost going up on 29 years. And my dad is like the best person and they're the best people for each other. And so I've always looked at guys and been like, I'm not going to settle until I find like that actual perfect connection. And I don't think it's wrong. People seem to think it's wrong to have high standards for yourself and that you like, if you find someone like, okay, you can see potential in them and just try it. No, like I want someone as they are and I want them to match my energy and then we can like come together and be great together.
What are your standards? Like what are you looking for?
So honestly, it's just like, first of all, I grew up with a very dominant father figure. Like my dad was always the one who worked. My mom was always the one who like took care of us, cooked, like stayed home, whatever. And I'm like very much a career woman, but I need someone who still matches my energy. So I want someone that is just as motivated as me, but still has those dominant traits. Like I don't want to be the dominant one in the relationship. So definitely someone dominant and someone driven and motivated. And then just someone who has the same family values. Like that's literally it. Like it's not that hard. It's just, it's hard to find guys, especially around the age of 25 that are at the same level as you, like motivation wise. Cause
is that why you date older?
Yes. Because usually they have their shit together a little bit more. And even so, I'm like, they don't really. Like, do they even? Even? Because I'm like,
do we even? A little, like maybe
we're just girls were very, especially people like us who have podcasts and who are very focused in our career. Like, there's just an element, even when we feel like we're a mess and we don't have it together, we do compared to most people. Yeah. And so I want a guy that's not like weirded out by like what I do.
I was gonna ask, has that your job, your presence on social media, to your knowledge, impacted your dating life?
It may, and I just don't know. It might. Yeah. Because like I've gone out on a date with a guy. I went out like a few times with him, and it was very clear that he just wanted to go out with me to then say, oh, I went out with, and I'm like, I'm not Kim Kardashian. Like I'm irrelevant. Leave the state of New York and I'm irrelevant. Right. So it's like funny, but because he knew about me and his sister was a fan and whatever, he pursued it. And then as soon as like 3 dates in, he could say that he pursued it, he dropped off. And I was like, I'm so much better than this guy. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. And the connection wasn't right anyways, but that was the one time where, not confirmed, but I had a hunch. I had a weird feeling about it. But I don't know. Like, I feel like it's definitely hard on apps.
What is your job set as?
Social media. And if someone at a bar comes up to me and asks me what I do, I say social media, or like, I'm not going to be like, I have a podcast or like I do TikTok. Yeah. Like, those are never going to be my first answers. I'm going to try to play it like I do social media. Maybe they'll think I work for a company and run their socials.
Like social media management.
Yeah. Or like advertising, whatever it may be.
It's so weird how we do that. Yeah. Like, we don't want to say what it is that we do, even though what you do, what it is that you do is fucking awesome.
No. Yeah. And if I wanted to like say it, I mean, to a girl, yeah, it's great. Yeah. But when I'm talking to a new guy, I think
there's just such a stigma around it.
It can be scary for them too. Because what guy, it's hard to find a guy that wants to walk into you being like seen when you're on the streets, or like talking about sex on a podcast. Like, that's a lot.
Would you date somebody who like didn't want to be involved in your content, like didn't want you to talk about them on the podcast, didn't want you to like make videos with them?
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I'm open to both. Like, I would actually be a little concerned if the person was like really excited to be in my content, like, because I don't want a guy that's like trying to be famous. Like, I don't want that. And I often look for guys that are like more like in finance, or a doctor, or like a lawyer, like something more straightforward and like type A, because they don't care as much, or like it doesn't concern them. Yeah. So, but I'm not going to be sitting here like posting like making out videos of us. Right. And I'm not going to be actively trying to hide them unless they like wanted me to.
With Jake, it was really interesting. So, well, backing up, when I was working at Hinge, I would like flip flop back and forth between like having my profile say that I work at Hinge versus not, because when I found that people would say like, I don't believe you. Like, they would think I was joking.
It's so weird.
Right. Like, why would I
Why would you joke about that?
This is my job. And then when I didn't have it, and then they would ask, and I would say I worked at Hinge, like, again, they would either be like, what do you mean? Like, you're joking. What do you really do? Or they would also say like, oh, like, are you going to make content about me? Like, are you going to like live tweet our date? And like, some people were champs about it. I did actually like joke with a guy on a date that I was live tweeting it, and he was like, shut up. Like, are you really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, wait, can you send me the link so I can send to all my friends?
That's so funny.
But it was something that I felt like I really had to like kind of walk on eggshells around. And when I started dating Jake, as it became clear that like this was going somewhere, I really didn't know what to do, because I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't for a while. And after maybe like 2 or 3 months, he literally said to me, he was like, are you going to talk about me on the podcast or what? And I was like, okay, green light, cool.
Yeah. And more often than not, I feel like the guy will end up bringing it up in time when they feel comfortable bringing it up. Yeah. But in the beginning, it's hard because like they don't want to seem intrusive, or like they're forcing it out of you if you don't want to talk about it. Right. But I feel like it ends up coming out.
Yeah. Okay. You posted a video recently, I think like in the past week, talking about going out with your friends and this feeling of rejection, where sometimes like you'll go out with a group of friends and there will be guys giving them a lot of attention. Yeah. And not you.
Yeah. It's story of my life.
That is like the most relatable thing I've ever heard. So first of all, thank you for posting that, because I can only imagine like how validated, that made so many people feel. How do you like cope with that?
Yeah. I mean, I swear, like my entire life since I've spoken to guys, like I remember in high school, my friends would be talking to boys and I always felt like there was like the group and then it was like me and I was like, or I would be like hopping around trying to like third wheeling in each group, even if it was just friends chatting. I always felt like kind of like I was floating and like guys weren't interested in me and like everyone, all my friends were more social and hotter and whatever. And through college, it was the same thing. I constantly felt, oh, I'm in a sorority, everyone's hotter, everyone's more social, whatever. But I remember when I was abroad in Florence, I was actually going through like an eating disorder, but it was the first time, like, this is messed up, but I felt more confident in my skin. Like, even though I was miserable and I was sick, when I put on my clothes, I felt more confident. And I remember getting so much attention from guys. And I always think to myself, that wasn't because you were skinny. Like I at the time I was like, oh, it's because I'm skinny, I'm getting attention from guys. No, it was because my chin was up and I was looking people in the eye and I like held myself a certain way. So I feel like
it was about that like sense of confidence that you felt and were exuding that they caught on to.
Yes. And again, being in the city, I feel like I've backtracked a little because over the years, I've gained weight and I've gone through, like recovery. And so I've gone through similar, I think a lot of it has to do with like confidence and like my friends will go right up to a guy and like be so like aggressive and just like don't give a shit. And I do. And I'm very in my head about stuff. So I think that's why I've always continued to kind of be that way. But yeah, even this last week, I was in Miami with my friends and I was like, great. They're all, these guys were adorable. I was like, so cute. And they were focused on all my friends. None of them were looking at me. None of them were asking me questions. None of them could care if I lived or died. And I was like, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
But I'm almost used to it now. I'm like, this has been forever. And
it sucks. Like
it sucks.
It sucks. It's not something you should have to like be used to or be comfortable with.
But then again, it's like, there's probably, and the reason why I posted it is because so many people probably feel that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember it's like, doesn't even affect me that much anymore because it does, but then I just kind of move on and I'm like, one day I'm going to meet the right person and the right person is going to want to talk to me and hang out with me. So I just keep that in my head as my motivator.
Yeah. Like it's their loss. Like I'm great and they're missing out. And
yeah.
Which is all true. Barkley, hi, come here. No? Okay, bye.
Yeah, so I try to keep the attitude. I'm very much like a fixer in my brain. Like every time I get down, I'll just try to like say something to myself to like fix it.
Yeah.
And with that, when it comes to like guys ignoring me, I'm like, okay, then they're not the right guy.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because the right guy will want to get to know me.
Yeah.
And won't care, honestly, if I'm 5 or 10 pounds more than I was before. Like they're not going to care about that stuff. So it's just, I haven't found the right person yet.
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect mindset to have. And it is all true. Like it is entirely true. Like you don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with you, who doesn't see you for who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it fucking sucks to go out and like see a bunch of cute people and think like, oh, I hope they like talk to me and then they talk to everyone else. But like, I really applaud you for just knowing who you are and knowing like, well, like that's okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the time it's out of like shallowness too.
Yeah.
Guys look at girls, they think they're pretty, they want to talk to them.
Yeah.
It's not that deep. Like, it's if they think the other girl is the most attractive girl in the room, great. It's fine.
And you know what I'm guessing? I'm guessing it's never gone anywhere with them and your friends anyway.
Yeah. And most of the time, right, exactly. I think back to all the times that I've gone out with people, all the times that guys have like talked a girl up in my friend group. And most of the time, for what?
Right.
They want to hook up.
For you to say you had a good end to the night.
Yeah.
I have a listener questions that I'm excited to ask you.
Love.
What dating advice would you give to yourself a year ago?
Oh my God. Honestly, just like go out more, like just go on more dates and just be a little less, put a little less thought into it. When you're young, like, and most people are not like this. I just happen to be someone that overthinks everything and it's not that deep. Like just go on the date if you're in doubt and like have fun with it. I wish that I had been more spontaneous earlier on because you're just going to have fun. And if not, there's no loss.
Yeah. It really should be like, I think dating needs a rebrand to be about having fun.
Yeah. Like, oh, going to meet up with like a new friend. And then if it turns into more, great.
Right. Like you're having some drinks, you're having some food, you're going to a new place. Like you're getting to know somebody. And it should be fun.
Exactly. But we've all branded it as like it being such a nerve-wracking, scary thing.
Yeah.
And I've always, in my head, it was always like the scariest thing ever. Like I public speak all the time and that doesn't give me anxiety. But dating, I'll have anxiety for the 2 days prior to going on a date.
What is your specific anxiety with going on a date?
Now it's better because I think before it was just the unknown. Like I wasn't experienced. So, and I'm still not that experienced in dating. But I think it was more just being one-on-one with the person and being in my head about like, will it be awkward? And what is there to talk about? And what if I don't like him? And I don't know. I think it's scarier sometimes being one-on-one with a person than it is being with a lot of people. Yeah.
Cause like, oh, like if there's an awkward pause, like, but if there's an awkward pause, so what?
Right. Great. Whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just not scary. I blew it up in my head. And I think a lot of people tend to do that. But once you do it, you're like, okay, this is really not a big deal. Like, calm down.
I think for me, and I know for me, my fear with it and the reason that I like couldn't let myself have fun with it was because I was so afraid of getting hurt. Like if the date ended and I liked them, even the slightest, I initially would freak out and be like, oh, well, I'm going to get hurt. Like, when's my heartbreak coming?
Yeah.
Signing myself up for failure.
I'm always the opposite where I'm like, I'm definitely not going to like this person. Like, I'm always like, I'm not going to like them.
You're like trying to find someone who you like.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I just always am like, I have lower expectations. Like, I don't ever think I'm going to go into a date and be like obsessed. But I think it's almost a little better to be that way because it's like.
It is. Instead of putting someone on a pedestal before and then like liking them no matter what they say.
Because I have friends that will take all the good traits that they see in someone from a first date.
Yeah.
And then in their brain, they'll be like, okay, if they just add this, this, and this, then they're going to be someone that could be my boyfriend. And I'm like, but you just made those extra things up. You need to let them show you who they really are in order for you to see if you actually connect with them. But oftentimes, girls, we all just like play things up in our head.
Yeah, we play things up in our head and we think people are Sims characters.
Yes,
we can
we
just
create
like
a persona.
Put ingredients in.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that's like totally not who they are.
Exactly. I used to do that all the time. I mean, even in college with guys I was hooking up with who I would fantasize about being in a relationship with them. And I'm like, girl, you are in your head, you are making them like a good person.
Yeah.
They're not.
They're not like actual delusion happening.
Yeah. I'm like, they're emotionally unavailable. Yeah. Like they don't talk, like they get in fights with half their friends.
They're never taking you on an actual date.
Yeah. They black out too much. Like it's all those things you don't think about. You just try to like hype them up.
It's just like, oh, like, but they're so close with their family. Yeah. And like they did this volunteer thing. Yeah. And like they texted me the next morning.
Yeah. I'm like bare minimum, babe.
Bare minimum. Yeah. Yeah, we deserve more. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's graduating college this month?
Honestly, just like embrace the transition because like the transition is never going to be like rainbows. Like it's just, it's a weird time, but embrace that like weird time. Like go out with friends of friends. I think that's the best time to just like meet new people and like combine friend groups and be okay with not knowing everything, not knowing your career, not knowing who you're going to end up with, not knowing where you're going to be a year from now or where you're going to live. Like you just kind of have to embrace, as hard as it is, because I know it's hard, like literally embrace the unknown and just try to take it day by day instead of like continuously like putting pressure on yourself for the future.
There's always going to be these scary question marks of what's next or what do I have to do to get like to these building blocks and to get to that next stage. And there's always going to be so many unknowns and all you can do is take it one step at a time.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't need to be in your permanent job. Like you could be in this job for a month. You could quit. Like, it's okay. I think people think like
you have to stay in for 2 years
if
at
you're
least.
That miserable, quit.
There are so many successful people I know that I went to school with who they changed jobs 3 times their first year out of college.
Oh my God.
And that now they're where they need to be. They figured out what was right for them. And like, it's so important to figure out what's not right for you.
Exactly.
But you're not stuck.
Exactly.
You're not stuck. You're not signing your life away.
Yeah. And most people don't.
And if you
stay.
are, don't.
Yeah. Literally don't.
Literally. How long do you typically wait to hook up with a guy once you've met him in person, but initially online?
So if I like hook up, meaning like have sex, I assume, I usually, my friends like make fun of me because like I say like, oh, I'll try to wait till like the third or fourth date, depending on like how it goes. But then they were like, you have a loophole because I like one time like went out with this guy and then like the next day he met up with me when I was like out at night.
So
and then and then the next day I had sex with him. So I was like, 3 dates. What do you mean? But no, I just think like not on the first date at least, and probably not on the second.
Well, you know what? In that example, you did it when you felt comfortable doing it.
Yeah,
I think that's all that matters.
And I think in the moment I knew it wasn't going anywhere. Like I kind of felt the vibes and I was like, I don't think this is going. Because if I see it going somewhere, I try to withhold a little bit because I want to just like, I feel like a guy takes you more seriously when you just state like, if you don't have sex with him, it's almost like this is what I'm here for, kind of. And if you have sex, they might get mixed like ideas, like what does she want? Yeah. So
do you view it differently if it's somebody you met on a dating app versus in person or through a friend?
No, not really. Like a date is a date. So I'm still gonna, even if I know the person, like I'm still gonna count it like first date, second date. Agreed. So to me, it's like still the same.
I feel like people stopped doing that like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or no, like a few years ago, realistically.
Because
like
to me, it's all the same. Like dating apps, like I'm most likely have mutual friends with the person if I'm meeting them on a dating app.
Yeah. All right. Here is a longer question. I've liked one of my guy friends for a while. We met on Bumble 2 years ago and we get along really well. At the time, he said he wasn't sure what he wanted, but said he definitely wants to be friends. Literally all of my friends like him and want to see us together. We currently live 4 hours away from each other, but he's always telling me to let him know when I'm back in town and always insists on paying when we go out. Do I ask him how he feels about me, or is it better to leave things the way we are?
I mean, first of all, if you're distance, that's hard.
It's a factor.
Second of all, I'm like, my whole thing is why isn't he, if he wants you, then why isn't he like making, I mean, he's definitely making an effort. I have guy friends that keep me around and I know they don't like me, but there's like something. I think it can never hurt. If you feel like being with him is going to hurt you more, then just ask, like just come out and say like, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with sometimes just being straight up and being like, I feel this way. If not, totally chill. That's fine. But like, I just want to know if it's mutual or what. Because at the end of it, you guys met on Bumble. Like, I don't believe in lifelong friends that are just boy-girl friends. So don't worry about ruining the friend. I'm like, don't worry about it.
You liked him for a while.
Yeah.
You met on Bumble in a dating capacity.
Right, yeah.
I think it's worth figuring it out because otherwise it's always going to be in the back of your head as a what if.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the thing, if he says he's still not looking for it, like whatever, listen, you still have 4 hours away from each other. Yeah. It's not going to impact your day-to-day life.
Exactly. And it's right. You're not going to have to see them every day. So if you get rejected, not a big deal, out of sight, out of mind. Block them on everything if you want to. I know you're not going to want to lose a friend, but realistically, sometimes you get hurt and then you need to kind of cut it off.
Yeah. And for the most part, he's a pen pal right now.
Yeah, for real.
And you can replace that.
Yeah, you can. With an in-person one.
Yes. I don't know what is going on, but for the past few months, every time I set up a date with someone, it never actually happens. What typically happens is we set a day and a general time of day in advance. And then when it comes to the day of or the day before, I message them about making specific plans and I never hear back. I generally don't have a schedule where I can be more spontaneous, so I don't know how else to approach it. If it helps, I'd say 75% of the time, I'm the one who initially brings up the we should go out / when are we going to meet conversation.
So that's the issue. Like you just said it. You need to wait then until someone else asks you out because if you're asking, then you're not positive. They might be saying yes, but they might not really know. And they're like on the fence and could bail. So wait until you meet someone that asks you out and maybe chat with more people or look at who you're chatting with. Like, do you feel like the people are kind of like, do you just think they're hot? And
right, like is there a common theme between them?
Yeah. Like go for someone that actually seems like a genuinely nice person. And I just say like, when in doubt, let the guy like do the work first, because then you know for a fact that and I know people are gonna be, you're not a feminist, blah, 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 blah. If I want an answer, I just let the guy do it because then I have my answer. Easy.
Yeah. And I think, listen, I think it's worth switching up your strategy if it's 75% of the time this isn't working out and this is what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing, but if it's not working for you, it's not working for you right now.
Yeah.
And maybe it goes even a little deeper to like, maybe there's something in your profile that is turning people off or attracting the wrong type of people who aren't actually looking to go out and meet you, and they just want someone to like text, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe explore what's in your profile and like what message that's giving off.
That's so true.
Yeah. All right. One more. I've liked one of, oh no, it's the same thing. Oh, it was twice. Okay. Never mind.
They really wanted an answer.
They really wanted an answer. Okay. Well, in that case, I have one more question for you. What is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received?
Oh my God. This is like such a good question. I feel like this like might not even really be that good, but it's just like everything works out the way it's supposed to. Like if you break up with someone and it's meant to be, you'll come back together. Like I really feel like the universe, like I'm not like very woo-woo, but the universe has a plan for you. And so you just have to trust that in the right time, you're going to find the right person. You have to have patience and just have trust in the universe that things are going to work out for you. And they will when you least expect it.
I love that. And it's so funny. Like I'm not woo-woo at all. And like, to me, I won't even go as far to say like the universe has a plan, but I think everything happens for a reason.
Yes, completely.
And I feel like there are so many examples like in my life, in my relationship, in so many of my like, closest friends' relationships where it just is so proven where it's like, if these people had matched like a month before, it wasn't the right time.
Right, exactly. And it's like timing is everything. And it's just, I just feel like I believe in like divine timing. Like when it happens, that's when it's supposed to happen for you.
Yeah.
So
love that. Yeah. Carly, thank you so much for being here. Where can everybody find you?
At Carly_Weinstein on Instagram, at Carly Weinstein 1 on TikTok, and Hot Girl Talks podcast.
Check it out.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All of that will be linked below, and love you guys so much. Thank you for listening.